I've become kind of annoyed over the last few years by the way technology has drifted. You probably have felt this as well. Things seem to be getting harder to use, more expensive, and then AI has come along to kind of give every creative person a kick in the lower spinal column. So one of the things that I've begun to do is become sort of on a war footing with companies like Adobe, Microsoft, Dropbox. I've had so many huge problems with all of them. I'm not rich, so I can't afford to spend $700 a year on a Creative Cloud subscription, especially when that cloud subscription gets buggier and more bloated month by month. And I've seen people with far more expensive computers than I have basically not being able to do anything with their machine because it's become just so unfriendly. Simple text inputs take minutes to render. It's madness. So we all know the solutions, open source, this, that, the other, use alternatives. So I've decided to sort of put my money where my mouth is, or where my money is and where my money is, and begin to use open source software, see how this goes. So before you have open source software, it helps if you have hardware. That's one expense we can't get rid of. So this machine is my potato. This is a Dell Inspiron 1720. I bought it in 2007. It's really old. It should be useless. And there are machines like this being thrown in landfills. There are newer machines than this that are better than this that are sitting on shelves not used. So how have I made this thing usable? I'm going to show you how. The first step is to install Linux Mint. I'll walk you through the process as best as I can and point you to other people who do it better than I can. I'm also going to show you what software does and doesn't work on this. And I would suspect if you're using like a 2010 decent laptop, like a Lenovo Thinkpad, they're going for fairly small amounts of money. You'll see them all over YouTube, and they will, I'm sure, happily run things that this even struggles at. Let's get this set up on my makeshift table over here, and I'll walk you through it. The free software and the very cheap hardware that you would need to get going, especially if you're a student or you've been laid off and you can't afford to pay for this crap software cloud BS anymore. I don't have a sponsor, so if you want to support my work and help it to continue, you can subscribe to my Patreon. I'm making new animation projects week by week and providing animation assets that can be downloaded and used. I also have a very large collection of tutorials in the LinkedIn Learning Library covering animation and design, and I'm putting all the links to these in the notes below. Okay, I'll keep this short. This is my potato laptop. It's the Dell Inspiron 1720. I'll put the specs on the screen so you can see how ancient this thing is. You probably have a newer machine than this sitting on a shelf somewhere, or you can pick one up for very, very small amounts of money. In terms of like getting past the hardware issues of like working in animation design and all that, an old Lenovo Thinkpad apparently are the most favored for people that like to use old laptops and get stuff done with them. There's a ton of them and they're pretty decent. This is the laptop. I have sort of changed the desktop to match my Windows PC. This is Linux Mint Mate or Mate, and this version of Linux is designed to run well on older machines. So the operating system, I think it runs around 200 to 300 megabytes of RAM, which is not much for an OS today. You can see all the applications if you click here. They're all sorted by type. I've made my favorites list. I have my Vivaldi web browser, Audacity, GIMP, Krita. All these are able to run. Blender runs. The video editing in Blender, a bit flaky, but as you'll see, the program loads up pretty well. Your experience might vary from machine to machine, so there is that issue. You might have a problem with various hardware. It's kind of a crapshoot, but Blender works here. The video editing, no, not so much. Grease paint or grease pencil, I haven't tried yet, but I do want to do the donut tutorial on here at some point and see if I can get it to work and render on such an ancient hardware. I won't call it fun, but it might be interesting. Of course, we have Krita. Bit slow to load, but it's slow to load on my main machine. Let's open the file here and see how she plays. Here's our walking man. You may have seen me do this tutorial in the other machine. It definitely takes a little longer to build the cache, but not once it's built, it should play fine. And there we go. So I'm kind of happy with that. Let's hit stop. And so we can do all of the work that we need. We can do here if I want to draw. It's fairly responsive. So I'm drawing at a funny angle here. That's why it's not quite as comfortable, but I could pick up this project and keep working with it on this potato computer. So not too bad. I can zoom out, rotate, oops, and recenter. I like it. So we can close Krita. Other program we have would be Audacity, which is brilliant for doing audio work. So Audacity is really nice because it's going to allow us to do basic editing, well, more than basic editing. You can do a lot with it. So if you're working in animation, which is my main focus, obviously you need to be able to edit your WAV files, your MP3 files and all that. And this program will run again on any platform. There's Mac and PC versions for that as well. LibreOffice is a beautiful office alternative to Word. I use it a lot. It's really nice. OpenToonz would be the other one that most people would be interested in here. This is a program that I definitely want to work on in the future. People on the channel asked, why don't you use a program like OpenToonz, which is more powerful than Krita? There's an entire philosophical argument hidden in that, but let's just very quickly check it to make sure it works. I'm not going to do anything beyond an introductory animated squiggle and then hit play. I think we'll bounce back and forward. So it seems to be playing well. I'm not seeing any like glitches. It's not flickering or anything like that. So it's playing nice with my graphics card. So this is definitely a program that I'll follow up on. I think a lot to be said for it, and I'm really glad it's there. There's a very basic video editor called OpenShot that I was astonished to get working on this. I won't try to do anything with it here because I'm running OBS, which is just asking too much of the graphics card, but it has a bunch of filters. We can do basic video editing, and the secret for me to get this one to scrub the timeline properly and not choke and stutter like the other software that I tried was just to get these cache settings and the general settings here, just in case you have the similar machine and you're wondering how on earth he did it. Again, it's a free program, so I think it's a single developer working on it, so great job. It's just nice to have the ability to do a basic video edit, so like I can use this handbrake, which again cross-platform program, which you can use to convert video formats or to reduce video format size. Often when you render video in Premiere or whatever program you use, it's too big. So this will enable you to make a really nice H.264 render and scale it down in size so it's not 4 gigabytes. And this is just a flyover of the Linux Mint. I'll show you the software manager. Back in the early days of using Linux, when I tried it in the early 2000s, trying to install software would have required compiling the source code. Forget it. I don't know how to do that. Look at what it is today. I mean, I don't think people that have been working with Linux realize just how great it is. All these programs are sorted by type. So let's say let's pick graphics. And I'm not a gamer too, by the way, so you can forget this to do high-end games. I wouldn't want to. But if I want to install Calibre to read ebooks, Inkscape, which is a vector-based drawing program, more like Illustrator, God help you. I hate that program. But then you'd have access to here. And let's say I want to install Inkscape. I click on that. And they have them in system packages and flat packs. So there's different like install types. You can then click whatever one works and click install, and presto, you should have access to the software. It's that simple. When it's installed, it'll show up in your application, so under graphics or what have you. Once you have it in here, you can right click and add it to your favorites. And then when you have your favorites like here, then everything is good to go. It's like the startup menu in Microsoft Windows. So for me, it really feels like a very easy to use. Idiot proof is not quite the word. You need to be careful with it, but it's certainly a far cry from what it was even 10 years ago. And there's a program called timeshift, and timeshift allows you to take a system snapshot. So it's like system restore, but I think more powerful. When you have your system, as I have, set up and working, I take a timeshift snapshot. It took about half an hour, kind of makes a copy of the entire OS. So if I do wreck something, hopefully I can roll back to the good version, because I don't have the expertise to go in and do command line stuff. Again, a bit of proofing for people like me who want to use it but who aren't like technical wizards. I think that's about it. I'll leave links to the Linux Mint website with the 3 flavors. There's XFCE, Mate, and Cinnamon. And if you have a really old computer, XFCE might be better. It's less features than this, but it's still pretty decent. Mate, kind of nice middle ground. Cinnamon, if you have like a, slightly faster machine than this, you might want to use it. I could not get DaVinci Resolve to work on this. I just think it required too much of the little graphics card that's in here. I think it has 256 megabytes of video RAM, and that's not much. So I think it hit DaVinci Resolve and went, no way. The little screen came up and then we just went flat. So yeah, the other thing too would be Control Center, which is like system settings, and you can set your window display in here and do all of that. So I won't mess with that. So this is the hardware end of the free software component. Hopefully you can either resurrect an old machine if you have it sitting on a shelf, go to the website, you download an ISO. You can use software to put the ISO on here, and a program called Rufus, or various other programs too. You can stick it in the USB port and reboot. You can reboot into a USB stick to test it out, see if it works, see if it finds your hardware. Does your sound card work? And if it does, and you feel comfortable and you're not scared of wiping the hard drive and what's on it, you can install the operating system on there. And you have hopefully a new lease of life on old hardware. So if you're somebody who can't afford a new machine and you're looking at buying a new laptop, many of them are not well made. So it's nice if you can buy a solid old machine and put something on them that will respect the hardware that they're working on and give you the power to do work. Depending on how many thousands of people watch this, somebody will hopefully find this useful. I'm going to continue doing more Krita courses, and I'll probably move on to doing maybe some OpenToonz stuff as well. Maybe we'll do a side-by-side and compare OpenToonz with Krita. Okay, so hopefully that's enough of that, and I'll see you next time.